Good morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you are in the world. Hello, it's Christine. Make sure you say hi in the chat box over there and tell us where you're from. And tell us your favorite ocean, since this is World Oceans Day. Okay, so let's get started here. Let me see. Let's see. So it's World Oceans Day, and this has been designated by the organization called the United Nations, which you're probably familiar with. And it's a day to acknowledge and celebrate the oceans and seas and bays and estuaries of the world. And how to conserve them, conserve their resources, use them responsibly and sustainably, and understand the importance of the oceans to our world. The oceans cover about 70% of the surface of the earth, and they make about 50% of the world's oxygen via the little phytoplanktons that live in there. And they actually also absorb about 30% of the man-made carbon that we create from burning fossil fuels. But they're highly endangered, of course, from global climate change and, pollution, and of course, resource extraction, overfishing, all of those kind of things. So just want to take a day to acknowledge them. Okay. And so a little bit about me if you're new. Now, do please say new in the chat box and say hello if you're new. I recognize a lot of the names, but some of them are new. So hi, I'm Christine Elder. I'm a naturalist in Central Oregon. That's where I live right now, between the Cascade Mountains that are clad in ponderosa pines to my west, and the Great Basin and high desert to the east that's inhabited by pronghorn antelope and sage grouse and all kinds of cool stuff. So I'm a naturalist, environmental educator, a visual artist, and actually a trained scientific illustrator. And a leader on nature sketching retreats around the world. I'm lucky to have traveled a lot of the world's oceans and scuba dived and snorkeled in the Atlantic and the Florida Keys and the Caribbean and down in Mexico and all the way over to Hawaii and even Borneo. So I really love the oceans. I studied marine biology for my undergraduate degree and then went on to get a master's degree as well in more terrestrial environments, the pollination biology. But I love to scuba dive, and I've worked with a lot of marine conservation organizations, worked with the California Marine Mammal Center, Moss Landing Marine Lab, Monterey Bay Aquarium. And I used to teach marine biology too at college and high school. So anyway, hello, Monica. Yes. Yeah. Tell me if you're new, tell me where you found out about my teaching activities. So anyway, I love to teach people about the natural world and specifically how to be right in the moment, learning about the natural world with a nature sketching practice. And so you might know I have a YouTube channel and online courses and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, thank you, Joji. And yes, hello, Lauren. Thanks, Monica. Great. Hello, Cindy. You're here from my cicada class. Right. So I have a whole bunch of other free events on my main Crowdcast page, which you can access later. Okay, great. Okay, good. So let's keep going. Let's get started. So how we roll. So our goals today, again, are learning a little bit more about the marine environment. Of course, this image here is of beetles because there's the idea of them rolling the dung ball. So anyway, I love beetles. So that's why I have the image there. But anyway, in general, our goals are to learn about the natural environment. Today, it's sea creatures, by sketching them, and drawing something really helps you to focus, to be in the moment and to slow down. Okay, so I already mentioned the chat box. That's where you'll ask and answer questions. Your resources are down below where it says click to download sea creature pics. And I also emailed most of you, hopefully, a link to that. And that's all these little creatures we're going to be drawing in a few minutes. high resolution images of those. So you can download those if you want. So we're going to do a little presentation, but it's going to be keeping it pretty short because we want to move right into the demonstration where we're going to do our step-by-step drawing together. And then hopefully you're going to share. So at the end, that's my favorite thing is I invite people up on screen through the chat box. You just tell me you want to share, and you can share any of your sketches you've made or ask me any questions about the marine environment or sketching or anything like that. And then I also encourage you to click the donate button and donate if you can. I really do these for free a couple times a month, but I can do them more often if I get more donations. So I really appreciate your support, even if it's $1 or $5 or $10. I really appreciate that. That helps me to be able to focus on my teaching activities and not have to do other things to help pay the rent. Okay, great. So let's keep going. Okay, so we're going to go on a virtual boat trip today with our snorkel and mask and our waterproof sketchbook. And it's going to be really fun. Oh, Suzanne loves the North Seas and the Barents Sea. Yes. I've been very lucky to travel extensively in Alaska, and I've been up to Barrow and seen that area, and Nome and St. Paul, all over the Alaska. And Carol's from New Brunswick, Canada. Oh, I've never been up there. Okay, so the suggested materials today, just any old sketching pencil, any old paper, and if you've got a chance to download this image of the of all the creatures we're drawing today, that would be great. But don't worry if you can't, because I will have a nice clear image for you when we start to do the demonstration. Monica, you're from Guatemala. See, welcome, welcome. I love Guatemala. I've spent several weeks there and visited Tikal and then Copan to the south, and been Lake Atitlan and seen the pink-headed warbler there, and all sorts of the guan and all sorts of cool stuff. So welcome to, Monica from Guatemala. Good. Okay. Anyway, suggested materials, pencil, paper, and if you can, the downloadable images. And you can always download those later to practice more on this once we get started. Oh, Joji, you saw humpback whales while visiting Kauai, Hawaii. Wonderful. Good, 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 good. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to get started sketching, and the way we're going to sketch is just kind of in a light and loose style, trying not to spend too much time erasing. We're going to spend about 10 minutes on each of our 5 critters, maybe a little bit more. And as we're sketching them, I'll tell you a little bit of some natural history information about some of them, maybe where they live or their habitat, or who they're related to, or that kind of thing, what they eat. Okay, so next, let's see, where are we? Okay, so the sea creatures we are sketching today, just to remind you, we're doing this cute little anemone fish. You might know this guy from the movie Finding Nemo and Finding Dory, and that kind of thing. So we'll look at that guy. Then we're going to look at this sea turtle. They're very beautiful. And then the orca, which actually lives around here off the Pacific Northwest coast. Then we're going to draw the blue-footed booby, which I was very lucky to see in person in the Galapagos Islands. And they were nesting and raising their chicks, and they were all holding their baby chicks between their legs here to keep them warm and safe. And it was just wonderful to see those guys. And sharks, a black-tip reef shark, which I've also been lucky to snorkel and scuba dive with. Okie dokie. So just a few basic ideas help you draw. I don't know if anybody here has drawn with me before. I recognize lots of you in the Recognize lots of you guys, just a sec, in the chat box. So this might be total review for you guys, but I want to bring you up to speed in case you're new to my world. And so we aren't drawing seahorses today, although I do have seahorse sketching tutorials on my website and such. But anyway, this is just in general the ideas that I want you to think about as we're drawing together. We're going to start drawing in just a few minutes, but really want to start first. So first I want you to really observe before starting. So that's half the battle, is just looking at your creature like this cute little seahorse and noticing their color and their size and their shape and their behavior, and just really looking at them. Because the longer you really look and observe and maybe say some of their characteristics out loud to yourself, the quicker and easier it will be for you to draw them, and you'll draw them with more confidence and ease. And I'd like you to keep your drawings kind of light and loose. So holding your pencil, sorry, I'm going to try to figure out where I put this. Now, where did that go? Why can't I? Oh, there it is. My mouse, there it is. Sorry. So holding your pencil kind of light and loose, not the same way you hold your pencil when you're trying to write words. So often when we write words, we kind of hold our pencil really tight and hard, and we're trying to go really slow and firm. We're not doing that. We want to keep it kind of light and loose and pretending that we're drawing from real life, and try to just touch the paper very gently, okay? And we'll do a little bit of warm-ups to show you what I mean, but we're going to start really gently, so we're not really creasing the paper with our pencil. We're going to try to be light and loose, okay? And then, where am I next? Resist the urge to erase. So we're going to pretend that we're actually watching these creatures in the field on our virtual boat trip and scuba diving trip, and that they might fly or swim away at any minute. So we want to just keep drawing and pretend we don't have an eraser. And you'll notice I don't spend much time erasing. And that's one reason we want to keep it super light. Because our little bird or something might fly away at any moment, and we want to just get as much information as we can down on the paper and really be focusing more as we draw on the process of learning about our creature as we draw it, and not so much worried about the final product. Okay, so we're not going to be framing these sketches. You might want to put it up on your fridge for fun, but we're not going to be, worried too much about perfectionism. Okay, we're just going to go for it and have fun and be in the moment. Next, glancing back and forth frequently. So what I mean by that is I want you to really be looking back and forth with your eyes from your subject, which here is a photograph, but in real life, of course, it would be the real shark or turtle, and then looking at your sketch. So back and forth to make sure that you're really observing and drawing from real observation and not from memory or imagination, although that's fine too. That's another type of drawing activity. But here we're trying to draw from observation and learn more about our creature as we draw it. So make sure to be looking at your subject and then drawing a little bit, looking at the subject, drawing, looking, drawing, okay? Next, enjoy the process over the product. That's what I mentioned before. And the idea of progress over perfection, meaning the more you draw, you're going to progress in your drawing skills and also in your skills of observing, right? In life nowadays, we are so used to consuming, being consumers of information like on our cell phones, and we're not creating. And it really takes being in the moment and really observing, being in the moment, looking and hearing and feeling and sensing, to be in the moment to draw best. So we're going to create, not consume. And then lastly, we want to just have fun, okay? And so the stakes are really low here. This isn't, life or death situation. We're just kind of having fun drawing and learning about the creatures as we go. So here's just some of my 6 ideas that I like people to think about as they draw that's going to help you draw more accurately and with more ease and confidence. So first, the idea of blocking in your basic shapes. So when you're looking at your creature, think about, is it a triangle? Is it a circle? Is it an oval? That kind of thing. Then as we're doing that, we're also going to be thinking about proportions or relative proportions, meaning how big one part is to the other. Like in this little seahorse, his head is about the same length as twice the body, or the head is about half the length of the whole body. That kind of idea. Then I want you to think of alignments, like what structures are aligned with other structures? What structures are parallel to each other vertically or horizontally, that kind of thing. Next, I want you to look at negative shapes. And that doesn't mean anything bad, like negative bad. It means the shape that isn't what you're drawing. So here I've drawn these little black areas that are showing the shapes of the white parts behind the seahorse, or the shape of the little area in his neck, or the white shapes in the tail. Okay. And then angles. So thinking of the angles of those negative shapes. So back to, elementary math class, where you're thinking about maybe a 20-degree angle or a 30-degree angle, or here this is maybe a 120-degree angle. And then lastly, the concept of flow lines. And that's just thinking about how your pencil is flowing around the object, almost as if your pencil is the water current flowing around a rock in the water, and whether it would be flowing very gently, like on the head here, or more swirly, making noises and making kind of waves and splashes like that. Okay, so those 6 steps can be very helpful, and you can learn a lot more about that in my courses and on my website. I've got over 100 blog posts all about nature and sketching and that kind of thing. Alrighty, let's keep going here. Okay, great. Okay, who's ready to sketch? Tell me in the chat box. Like I said, we're going to spend about 10 minutes drawing each animal. And in the future, if you haven't done so already, I suggest you download the high resolution images of each animal. But if you don't have that, don't worry, because I'll have an image in the video. Good. Hello, Jen. Hello, Monica. You're ready. Great. Manuela is a member. Wonderful. Milana. Good. Everybody is ready. Okay, and I think we've got everybody that's going to join today. It looks like most people are in the event already. Okay, so this is how we do this. This is how I do this. So what I do is this morning I pre-recorded the videos so that I can stop and start it whenever, and so that I can talk to you while I'm drawing, because it's really hard to draw and talk at the same time. And I also realize it's probably hard for you to draw and listen to me talking at the same time. So just, don't be hard on yourself. Just follow along, and you can always watch the replay. So we're starting at about 30 minutes in. So if you watch the replay, which will be ready just a little bit after we finish going live here in about a half hour or 45 minutes when we're finished with today, you can watch the replay and start right here again, and then watch the whole thing again without listening to me talking if you want to turn down the volume. But I will be giving you some hints as we go along. Okay. Amelia is happy to be here. First time. Thanks for the opportunity. Yeah, you'll catch the replay. Right. Okay, so we're going to warm up a little bit first, just like if you play a musical instrument, or if you're an athlete or dancer, you want to warm up a bit. So we're just going to be warming up. So get whatever pencil you're going to use today, and let's just do some little shapes. and lines just to get started. And I want you to try to go as light as you possibly can, not pushing down at all on the paper, okay? As if you're just tickling the paper. So just doing some different parallel lines. And see how I go harder right there? So you, any kind of drawing object you probably have, a pencil or even a pen, you can make it lighter or you can make it darker. And so we're going to start very lightly when we're sketching. And then as we become more confident with the shape of our critter as it's coming along, then we can push down harder on the pencil, kind of like you push when you're drawing, when you're using your pencil to write letters, kind of like I did here. But we want to draw as lightly as we can, okay? So try to be very gentle. Yes, Monica, you can use a mechanical pencil. That's exactly what I'm using. So just some circles, some ovals. You see, I'm kind of going over the shape, getting it closer to what I want, but I'm not erasing. And I'm not pushing down, kind of doing some squares and rectangles. Triangles. So just kind of thinking when we're drawing our critters that they're really just a combination of circles and squares and rectangles and such. Maybe even stop sign shapes. You never know. Yes, of course, Lauren, you can erase a little bit if you want. It's just that I want you to kind of pretend that we are out in the field and we're not trying to be so perfectionist. We're trying to be just super happy with observing what we have in front of us, okay? So the idea is I'm not expecting you to have a perfect line right away. I'm expecting you to be able to just try to keep that pencil moving, not be too critical of yourself, because the eraser is like a critic. It's kind of like a little gremlin sitting on your shoulder here saying, you're not a good drawer. That's a horrible line. Stop that. You're awful. So that's sometimes what the eraser is. So a lot of times I have my students in real life courses draw without an eraser or draw with a pen so they can't erase, to get them out of that habit, because kind of reminds me of Snoopy. If you remember Snoopy from the Peanuts comic strip. Do you remember Snoopy used to sit on top of his little doghouse with his typewriter, and he would be trying to type and type up the great American novel. And he would just get one sentence in, like, it's a dark and stormy night. And then he'd decide he didn't like that sentence, and he'd pull the paper out of the typewriter and crumple it up and throw it away. And then he'd start over again. And he wouldn't get very far because he was such a perfectionist about getting that first sentence perfect, right? So that's what sort of an eraser is like. So I want you to just kind of like brainstorm with your pencil and kind of like green light all your ideas. That's a phrase they use in the business world, where you're having a business meeting and you're just kind of trying to brainstorm and green light every single idea, okay? And so I want us to just be moving our pencils, not too much erasing, not be critical of yourself, and pretend we're drawing in real life. And if we spend too much time erasing, by the time we finished erasing, our fish might have swam away or our bird might have flown away, okay? So you'll see how we do it as I keep going here. Okay, let's keep going. So now we're going to start our first little guy. We're going to draw him first, and then when my drawing demonstration is done in about 10 minutes, we're spending 10 minutes on each animal, then I'll kind of freeze the video and I'll teach you a little bit about the animal we're drawing as you keep practicing with your drawing and let you catch up to me, okay? Okay. Great. Monica says yes. Milana has a question mark. I don't know what that means. Lauren, yeah. Okay, great. So this is the anemone fish. that lives within the tentacles of the anemone. Okay, so we're going to start drawing now. You ready? And so you see I've got the little image here that I've cut out from the reference pictures that, again, you can download from the link down below, which I also emailed to you earlier. And then I have the image here that's larger, just in case you weren't able to download the high resolution images yet. And so as I'm drawing, you can kind of follow along with me here in the blank space. And then you might want to be looking also at this creature. And remember, I want you to be looking back and forth as you draw, and not looking too much at your paper. I want you to be double checking your sizes and shapes and proportions, your angles and alignments. So, for example, in my 6 steps to sketching success, we talk about angles and negative shapes, and you can see those very well in the little shapes between the body and the fin. Okay, and then you can see the basic shapes, like this big kind of oval for the body, kind of a teardrop shape, and then an oval or rectangle for the tail, that kind of thing. Okay, and so let's get started. Oh, I was finishing my coffee there. Here we go. So we're just looking at the basic shape and observing all the parts. Like I've mentioned before, the longer you observe something before you start sketching it, the better you're going to be. Okay, let's get the basic outline of the body. Then we'll add the fins and stuff. So the slope of the head and the back and the belly. He's kind of fatter towards the front, and he gets a little skinnier towards the back. And then sort of the oval for the tail. And we're just going to go around a few times, getting the shape a little closer. And again, don't worry about being perfect. My drawing is definitely not perfect either. So we're just going to have fun with this general shape. Looking back and forth. Now we're going to start on that eye. Get a big oval for the eye and the black part for the pupil. Little eyelids a little bit, sort of. Well, they can't close their eye, but anyway. And then the mouth, you can't see the mouth very well in the picture, so just look at my drawing. They've got an upper lip and a lower lip, and their lips are kind of big. Now I'm going to get his forehead, noticing that its left eye is hidden, but there's just a little edge there that shows where the eye would be, little angle. Now we're going to do the fins, and we're going to do the first dorsal fin. Some fish have 1, some fish have 2, so this one has 2, and they have all these little lines, these parallel lines that are the fin rays that help to strengthen the fin and make it able to be flexible to help them swim. Then there's the tail. And I could probably make this part a little bit skinnier, but no matter. Making the tail a little bit bigger now. So you see, I'm not worried about erasing. I'm just making it a little bit bigger, especially because that white part of the tail, I kind of forgot to draw. And the tail can move a bunch, so it doesn't really matter the shape of the tail because it can be fanned out or it can be compressed depending on how they're swimming. It's got all those parallel lines. Then we're doing that lower fin that's called the pelvic fin. And that's got parallel lines. Again, the shape doesn't have to be exact because they're constantly moving them. Now the pectoral fin, it starts kind of down below the eye on the chest and below that front top dorsal fin. There's kind of a half moon shape and then a big triangle for that fin. It's called a pectoral fin, just like the pectoral muscles of your shoulder. And all the parallel strengthening fin rays. Now we've got the pelvic fins. There's a pair of those, just like on the pectoral fin. We've got one in front with parallel lines and one in back, the fish's left pelvic fin. And then I'm kind of fixing the chin there. Now kind of looking at everything I drew and gonna kind of just observe it for a moment. Gonna go back to adding the white stripes. Just noticing where those are. There's 3 of those. On the body, this first one wraps around the eye and goes under the chin. And it gets thinner under the chin there, notice. Then there's the second one behind the first dorsal fin, and it goes under the pectoral fin and down to the base of the pelvic fins. Each type of fish has different types of fins, different shapes, depending on their lifestyle, just like birds have different shaped wings, depending on their lifestyle and how much they migrate and such. Okay, last white band on the tail. And that's right behind the second dorsal fin and that last bottom fin there. Okay, now we're just going around and noticing. We're going to add a little, just the black color patterns. Shade those in. I'm kind of going to do them in the same direction as the fin rays, because those fin rays are going through that black area. And it's kind of a squiggly line because the fins are sort of kind of like corrugated, almost like a corrugated metal roof with little valleys and hills and valleys between the fin rays. Oh yeah, you'll notice each fin has a little bit of black and then it's edged in white as well. So we're just going to leave the white. Pectoral fin, pelvic fins. Now just looking around the whole fish again and firming up your lines. Don't worry, I'll give you a chance to catch up in a minute. Firming up some of those exterior lines, but not so much where the fins are because those attach to the body. Giving its eye a little bit more liveliness. You always want to spend some time on the eye of an animal because that's the soul, the window to the soul, as they say. Okay, I'm just going to freeze that and let you catch up. So, so this is the clownfish. It's in terms of fishes all over the ocean, since we're talking about World Ocean Day, there's about 30,000 species of fish in the ocean and about 500 families. And they're the most diverse group of vertebrates. So more diverse than birds or amphibians or reptiles. And so, there's different kinds of fishes like sharks, which we're going to draw in a minute. And those are the cartilaginous fishes, but these are what are called the bony fishes or ray-finned fishes that have these parallel rays in their fins like we were drawing. And so the clownfish belong to their own family that's included in the damselfish family. And there's over 300 species in this family. And 40 of those species are actually called clownfish, and most of them are all in one genus. And the family also includes things like Garibaldis, sergeant majors, demoiselles, blue chromuses, so things you may have seen snorkeling before. The interesting thing about this family is they're all born as males. And as they get older, some of them turn into females so that they can eventually breed and have babies. Now, the clownfishes are mainly distributed in the tropical, warm Pacific Ocean, the Indian Ocean, the Red Sea, the Great Barrier Reef, Southeast Asia, and Japan. So basically, shallow coral reefs with and associated with various anemones, just like in the movie Finding Nemo, where you saw him and what was his name? What was the name of the Finding Nemo character? Tell me in the chat box. I totally forgot. Him and his dad. The movie was about he and his dad, and so they live in the coral reef. And each type of clownfish is kind of associated with a different coral, a different anemone, and they're often colored in these stripes so that they sort of blend in with the arms of the anemone that are waving back and forth. And so they're also very popular aquarium fish. So you might see some of these in a pet store. But anyway, the very interesting thing about them is they do almost live their whole lives in association with one anemone, and they're living protected between the arms of the anemone. Because if you might know, anemones can sting you. They are actually related to a jellyfish, which definitely sting. But jellyfish float around free in the ocean with their arms hanging down, whereas sea anemones are stuck in one place and their arms go upright. So, yeah, Lauren says, of course, his name is Nemo because the movie's got Finding Nemo. And Nemo's dad was named Marlin. That's right. And their friend, the blue tang, her name was Dory. That's right. So anyway, they live their whole life hiding between the tentacles of the anemone, and they're protected from predators there because predators would get stung by the tentacles of the anemone. But how do these guys not get stung? Well, they have this symbiotic association, and they are constantly rubbing their bodies against the anemone to coat their scales with mucus, and that helps to avoid them being stung. It kind of gives them some immunity, kind of like with vaccines, like the coronavirus vaccine actually gives you a little shot of your immune system, makes it think that it's been infected, and then your body starts making factors that protect it in the future. So that's kind of like these guys. They're protected from the sting of the anemone by coating themselves in this mucus. So they're in there eating sometimes the leftover prey that was caught by the anemone. And they also, the anemone gets nutrition from the anemone fish from its poop. So the anemone fish will poop on the anemone and it'll actually eat the poop. And the anemone fish, they also eat zooplankton and crustaceans besides the leftover food from that the anemone ate. So it's very much a symbiotic association, meaning they live together and they're both benefiting from living together. Okay. Lauren, we're going to be sharing at the end when we're done with all the creatures, okay? And then that'll make it easier for us. Okay, let's get going to the next one. Again, we'll draw them together, and then once we're finished with my demonstration, I'll give you a few more minutes to finish your sketch while I tell you about the creature, okay? Okay, so next is the sea turtle. Okay, so again, we're going to draw him first, and then I'll give you some facts about him while you catch up with the drawing. Okay, so we're just looking at the parts again, the flippers, the carapace, the shapes on the carapace there, the scoots they're called, and the rear legs, and there's a little tail there too. Monica, you'll color it in on your own later. We don't have time for that today. Okay, we're just going to draw the oval or teardrop shape of the carapace first, noticing that it's kind of flatter on top and it's kind of more rounded on the bottom because we're seeing more of the rounded part. So make it kind of fatter down here, down at the bottom. And it's a little bit flatter on the top and fatter on the bottom. So we're just going to kind of get that shape first, a little bit longer than wide. I'm just going to clean up that outline a little bit. Mine could probably be a little bit longer. It's a little bit fat, but no worries. Again, we're just enjoying the process of learning about him. We're going to draw his neck sticking out of the carapace. It's got kind of this wrinkly neck, and then the head that's covered by the scales. Noticing he's got that forehead that's kind of steep right there, and then the flattened mouth, and then the jaw. Jaw, just like our jaw, opens and closes the mouth, and then the neck, and the kind of a chest. And we'll finish that part later. But let's, I decided his mouth was too flat. Give him a little bit more of a head and a mouth and a nose. Now I want to give him a nice big eye, that black oval shaped eye, and then it's surrounded by the kind of eye socket. This just skin, it's free of those scales. And then most of his mouth is kind of hidden, but I gave it a little bit of an extra line for the mouth. Firming that line up, looking at the neck. Now we're going to draw this, his or her right flipper. And looking at that nice negative shape there to get our shapes between the neck and the flipper. Again, just going very lightly first, and then we'll firm it up as we like our line. Noticing where the kind of shoulder arm is, and then it continues on to the flattened flipper. And it kind of angles back a bit to be more aerodynamic, kind of like a bird's wing. Then I'm going to firm up this front line, and they have a little claw. You can't really see it, but it's right there because there are the little individual finger bones inside there, just like it was a hand. And that first one, that thumb, has a tiny little claw. Then the back part is sort of wavy. Now the turtle's left flipper. And it's really angling back, kind of at a 45-degree angle. And we see a nice negative shape there, that little white triangle between the carapace and the left flipper. And the flipper itself is also sort of a little bit of a triangle that's going back. and a wavy part on the back edge, and the front edge is stronger and straighter. Now I want to be sure of the outline of my carapace now, just kind of firming that up a little bit. It's a little bit more wavier than I've drawn along the front where the scoots are, but oh well. Now we're going to do the back legs, which are also flattened into flippers compared to a terrestrial turtle. It's got a tiny little tail. Probably means it's a female. The males have longer tails. Now the back right flipper, and it's kind of longer, kind of oval there, and it's kind of wavy at the back again. Lauren, I'm so glad you're having fun. I know we're going kind of fast, but you can always come back later to the replay and also download the high resolution images to practice more later. Most of my sketching demonstrations inside my courses go a lot more slowly and talk a lot more about the anatomy and how to draw it much more accurately. But today is we're pretending we're drawing this turtle swimming away really quickly. Okay, so now that we got the outline, we're just going to draw a little bit of the patterns. His wrinkly neck, where you can see the actual skin, and the shoulder there, you can see the skin. And everything else is covered by these different scales, just like you have on a snake or lizard or other kind of reptile. And if you notice, in general, there are these parallel lines. And so we're just kind of doing it light and loose and fast. There's a lot of detail here you could actually spend a lot of time on, but we're not gonna. So I'm just doing crisscrossy lines just to give the quick illusion. Because also, if this guy were swimming by us real quickly, we couldn't really count and look at every single part. Like on the carapace here, which is his top shell, there are all these parts called scoots. And you see this line that goes around the edge that separates the scoots that are along the edge. So, and I'm just kind of following along with my left finger in general, just showing where those are. And different species of turtles actually have different numbers and shapes of those. So if you were going to be, if you were a scientist studying these guys, you would spend a lot more time looking at these shapes. But we're just being fast and loose and fun here, as if he's going to fly away swim away into the water at any moment. A little bit more detail here. Now we're going to firm up this front right flipper, because if he was swimming past us, actually I think it's a she because it's got such a small tail. If she was swimming past us, that right front flipper would be the closest part and it would be coming towards us. So I'm just going to firm up that line, make it a lot more stronger and more confident to make it seem like it's closer to us, because it is the closest part to us. So make that line stronger than the others. And also the front of the carapace, which you could make a little wavier, and that right rear. So the right front and right rear flippers are closer to us than those rear flippers. So to make them look closer, we're going to just make that line here stronger, and that'll just give us a really super quick illusion that is closer. A little bit more attention to the eye and the neck flipper. Give a little motion lines. Okay, now I'm going to freeze this and let you catch up. Just tell you a little bit more about turtles. So turtles are obviously a reptile. So they're in the reptile class of vertebrates. So we previously looked at the fish class of vertebrates. Now we're looking at the reptiles. So, you know, they're distantly related to everything from lizards and snakes to chameleons. And like other reptiles, they're cold-blooded and they lay eggs. Although the sea turtles are the mainly a lot more aquatic than a lot of other reptiles, although you could think of the marine iguana in the Galapagos or the saltwater crocodile. Those are also other reptiles that spend some time in the water. And there's also freshwater reptiles, but these turtles are marine reptiles. And in all the reptiles, there's about 300 species in the world. And let's see, or no, maybe that's the turtles. Sorry, I forgot. Oh, bye, Monica. Take care. See you later. Okay, so anyway, among the marine turtles, the largest is the leatherback species that can be 6 feet long. Now, there's only 7 species of marine turtles. Of course, there's a lot of terrestrial turtles, like the tortoises, desert tortoises, and pond turtles. But there's only 7 species of truly marine turtles that live full time in the marine habitat, right? Because like today we're talking about World Oceans Day. So we're just talking about creatures that live in the ocean. So these guys live full time in the ocean like the other 7, but they do have to come to land to mate and lay eggs. And so they're going to crawl up onto a beach and lay their eggs. And those eggs will stay in the warm beach for several weeks until they hatch and crawl away. And the gender of the babies is determined by how warm that sand is. And so that's kind of one of the problems with global warming is if it's warmer sand, it's going to skew the genders. Oh, hi, Carmen. You're tuning in from Bellingham. Oh, is that Bellingham, Washington? I love that area. Dorothy's got to leave. Sorry. Come on back to the replay. Yeah. So anyway, so we were mentioning that, yeah, these guys have to come to land. And so that's kind of dangerous because nowadays there aren't very many beaches where people aren't really busy on the beach, or the beaches haven't been turned into, hotel resorts or into industrial complexes. So there's not a lot of areas in the world that have clean, pristine beaches that also are pretty dark because we don't want a lot of light pollution. That's actually another kind of pollution. Oh, Barbara's seen ocean turtles in Sri Lanka. Oh, wonderful. Yes. Oh, hello, Kati from Hungary. Yes. So let's see. So anyway, sea turtles. So it's only in the sea turtles that their legs are turned into these flattened flippers that help them swim. All the other turtles, of course, that live on land have more type of regular legs with claws on them that help them walk. Just like the Galapagos tortoise that I taught folks about in my other sketching workshops. And as long as we're talking about that, let me give you a link here. Copy. I'm pasting a link into the chat box to my main Crowdcast page, and I might as well just show you that super quickly here. So here it is. So I suggest you go to that link and you follow me on Crowdcast, and then you'll be notified whenever I go live. And you can see, obviously, we're on air right now, and I have other upcoming events like this one, sketching the harpy eagle, and that's part of my event inside of my neotropical birds class. So there is a charge for that. But if you scroll down, there's a lot of other things about all kinds of animals all over the world and plants too. And if it's a free event, it says free. Of course, I do really, really appreciate donations. The donations help me to have a little bit of a scholarship fund so that homeschooling families can join some of my other programs for free. So anyway, you can scroll down and look through all of my other events I've done. Some of them are individual ones, and then some of them are a whole week long. Like here, the Galapagos wildlife sketching workshops are a whole series, and that talks about other marine animals too, like the marine iguana and parrotfish and that kind of stuff. Yeah. Lauren asks, when are you going to have our next free one? I don't know. I just had this free one today. So usually I try to do at least one per month that's free. Okay, but anyway, you can scroll down and watch the replays of some of these other free ones. It always says if it's free right here. Otherwise, there's a charge. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to get out of that. Okay, so let's get started. Let's keep going. Are you ready to go on to the next critter? Okay, so the next critter is the orca, which is a type of toothed whale related to dolphins that lives here in the Pacific Northwest where I live, off the coast of Washington and Oregon. Okay, so let's get started with that one. That's fairly easy shape. Looking at all the parts first. General head, the blowhole, the eye, the mouth, the front flippers, the dorsal fin, and the rear tail or fluke. Okay, so we're going to do this arch, looking at just the arc or arch of the back first. Trying to spend a little bit of time getting that as close as possible. But again, don't worry if you're not very close, because these guys are very flexible. Their tail can flex up and down to let them swim, right? So at any moment, their tail might be flexed more up or down. So don't worry too much about getting this arc or half circle exact, because it can always be moving. Again, we're pretending we're sketching maybe from a whale watching boat. Now it's got his little head there. Yeah, I got him kind of, my drawing is facing a lot more down than this guy is, but I'm going to fix it just a little bit here. Getting the arc of that tail. So I decided mine's a little pinched too much. So I'm going to get it going a little bit out more, just because I do like to draw what I see. And so when you stay super light, it doesn't matter so much. It's easy to erase. Now getting his forehead here, and then his mouth, giving a little bit more of a mouth than I had at first, and the opening to the mouth. Trying to get that forehead. You see where the blowhole is, and it arcs down to the forehead, and then the snout, there's a little bump. It's quite subtle, but you see here, the blowhole area slopes down to the forehead and then the mouth. So hopefully you can draw yours better than I did. Anyway, going back to the tail, and I'm just going to clean up that arc a little bit. Again, don't worry if you can't quite keep up. You'll have time afterwards to catch up as I talk. Yeah, I definitely could get his snout a little bit longer. Looking at that very subtle angle to the snout there. Yeah, mine could definitely be bigger. His lips could be bigger. Anyway, who cares? We're going on to the dorsal fin. That's a different shape in the male and the female, and the male has a really tall, upright dorsal fin. Although if you've ever seen one of these poor orcas in an aquarium, like a zoo, performing like a circus, that fin is often folded over because they don't get enough exercise and that muscle gets very weak and it's flapped over. Now the base of the tail is very strong muscles there. And then trying to get this arc of the tail going down into the belly. The lower lip. We'll add that pectoral fin. Notice where it comes down compared to where the dorsal fin is. That's that idea of angles and alignments that I mentioned. And looking at the negative white shape now between the front flipper there. So being a mammal, these are much stronger with a lot more bone and muscle in it than fishes have. Well, fishes don't have any really big bones like these mammals do. But this comes up here because he's arcing, swimming down. Okay, now looking at the tail. The tail's like a triangle there, you see. And there's kind of two parts, two mirror images. But since the orca's right side of his tail is farther away from us, it's smaller and going up at an angle. So the entire tail is kind of like a triangle that's arcing up. And the muscle of the vertebrae go all the way down to the base of that tail. There's lots of muscles attached because that's the main way they swim is flipping that back part of the tail up and down. And there's a little notch there, notice, between the left and the right part of the fluke of the tail. Still frustrated. I'm having a hard time drawing the arc because of the way my paper is on the paper. I mean, the way, the angle of my paper. So it's taped down to make it easier for you to see. But if I was drawing like you guys might be, I would be moving my paper so that it would be more ergonomic for me to draw that arc. It's really hard to draw an arc kind of coming towards you. It's easier to turn the paper. Anyway, so mine's kind of pinched, as you can see here. It's pinched in compared to here. I would have turned my paper. So don't hesitate to turn your paper in any direction to make it easier for you to make a line, whether that's parallel lines or arcs or circles. You can see how I kind of struggled with that. I'm going to fix the leading edge of this. It's a little bit fat, I think, there. So I'm just going to make that a little bit nicer there. Okay, now we're noticing where the mouth is. We've got these white, this white area of the chin starts at the end of the mouth opening. And then there's a white area behind the eye. I know in this light, it's really hard to see the eye. You probably can't see it at all. But I'm going to draw approximately where it is. And then I'm going to draw the blowhole. So in the toothed whales, there's one hole. So just draw one hole there, and then you can draw some of the air coming out. And then there's those other white spots. There's a white, the tail is white too. I kind of forgot to differentiate the tail from the black body. You might want to do that too. Sorry, I forgot that. See, there's a little line here that separates the kind of blackish body from the white tail. So I forgot to do that on mine. I was trying to make each of these sketches only be about 10 minutes long. So I was rushing a little bit. That the air coming out of the blowhole is in front of the line of the forehead, so I'm making it a little bit stronger there. Making some wave marks a bit. And he's jumping out of the water, so making the water. So that was good enough. Okay, so now you have a few minutes to catch up. So whales, of course, are mammals. They're marine mammals. So they're like, more closely related to things like dolphins and sea lions and seals and manatees. So they're a marine mammal. So like other mammals, they suckle their young, and they would have fur like most mammals have, but they don't have too much fur left. It's just reduced to some little whiskers here and there, tactile whiskers. They're really highly intelligent, these marine mammals. Now, these guys are called cetaceans. So that separates these marine mammals from things like the manatees and the sea lions. So cetaceans are including the whales and dolphins. So you can think of two main groupings of cetaceans. You can think of the toothed whales, like the orca here. So they have teeth, and they're piscivorous. So that means they pretty much exclusively eat fish. And so they're a toothed whale with teeth. And the toothed whales have just one blowhole on the top where the air comes out. Because obviously, like other mammals, they're air breathing. So they have to hold their breath when they go underwater, and their blowhole kind of closes, and then they can dive underwater and swim for quite a while until they come up and they blow out and exchange, get some fresh oxygen. So obviously, even though they superficially kind of might look like a shark, they're not a fish, they are a mammal. And so like a lot of other mammals, they're highly intelligent. They have really complex social behavior, like the singing, right? And there's about 85, 86 species of cetaceans. So that includes both the toothed whales, like the orca we see here, like porpoises, dolphins, the beluga, narwhals, sperm whales. And the toothed whales are separated from the baleen whales. And so those guys are the ones that include the blue whale, which is the largest thing that's ever lived on Earth. And those guys, they have baleen, and they kind of filter feed smaller fishes. So they have a whole different mouth that has the baleen in it without the teeth. Okay. So when you think of the general dolphin body, it's going to have this head or rostrum and a beak, and it's going to have a big brain. So they're, like I said, they're highly intelligent, lots of social complexity with their societies they live within. And there's, different ones echolocate to find prey. And some of them, like the baleen whales, sing, like the humpback whale in Hawaii, whose songs you can hear for miles and miles. Their head in the front here is called the melon, and it's filled with this fatty tissue that helps them in echolocating. So they're kind of like a bat in a way that they can sense prey and predators, as well as physical things in the water, like like coral reefs and like shipping vessels and other ships. So they sense that with their melon that's filled with the fatty tissue for echolocation. What else? Yeah, they have these different fins, the pectoral fin, and the dorsal fin on top, and there's just one. So that makes it different than like the Nemo who we drew that had two dorsal fins. This just guy has one big one, and the male has a bigger, taller one than the females. And then they have the pectoral fins. What else? And then they have the tail fin or fluke. And then they'll have their skin might be different colors, and they might have different patterns on them. These patterns help to break up their outline to kind of make them more camouflage sometimes. So like you see, they have this huge white spot on their head that is sort of camouflaging their actual eye, which is the same color as their black skin. And their skin is super smooth, so it's more streamlined and smoother than other marine mammals, like especially sea lions. And so that helps them to swim really fast and long in the water. Yeah. Good. What else do I want to say? Yeah, let's move on. We got lots of other things to talk about. I've done another workshop online on river dolphins, including the pink river dolphin that lives in the Amazon. So that's that was part of my crowdcast series on pink animals as part of Valentine's month of February. Okay, let's keep going because we're running out of time. You guys ready for the next one? Who's ready for the next one? Okay, this is a super fun one. How famous is this bird? The blue-footed booby. I even have a doll of the booby somewhere. Okay, so looking at the parts, we'll draw them first, and then I'll tell you more about his biology afterwards as you catch up. So here he is here. I've cut him out here like you could do if you want, if you download the high resolution images. Looking at his parts, we've got the big old blue bill, a yellow eye, the white body, the brown kind of body with the wings and the tail. Pranjal, what are you asking? You were expecting, I don't know what you were expecting. Sorry. Tell me, clarify in the chat box what you mean, Pranjal. Okay, then he's got his big white body. So sorry, I went a little ahead of myself. He's got these brown wings. He's got the tail sticking out of the back of his neck, sort of, and the back of the left wing, his left wing, and then the big blue feet. It's kind of hard to tell the males from the females, but the males, especially in breeding season, have bluer feet. Oh, yes, Pranjal, you expected we draw the booby. Yes. And I do, again, have a longer tutorial on the booby inside my Galapagos sketching series that I did after I returned from Ecuador and the Galapagos last year. So again, we spend a lot longer in those other programs. Okay, let's get going. Okay, let's get going. Sorry, where am I here? So I drew a circle for the head, just really lightly, and then the neck and the body. So like the whole body is sort of shaped like a bowling pin, right? So we're drawing that shape first. Then we're going to add the rest of the body. So the head here, sort of like a bowling pin, gets thinner and then fatter on the belly and then up. And then the bill is kind of coming towards us a little bit and is big and blue. And there's the upper bill. Yeah, Lauren says it's kind of shaped like a peanut too. Now the bill kind of continues on to part of the face that doesn't have any feathers. And so there's this blue top part and the circular yellow eye. I could probably draw that larger than I did. And then the lower bill, because he or she is squawking at you and has got his open mouth. And he's saying, hey, you, get out of my territory. And then the bigger area of blue here, I'm kind of fixing there, goes down to the neck and up. So that's the upper and lower bill that are blue, and that also encompasses the yellow eye. So there's a part of the face there that doesn't have any feathers, and it's covered with a blue skin, just like the blue legs and feet. Now going around to the head. He's kind of wet, so those feathers are kind of matted together. They spend most of their time in the water. Big old fat belly. So a thinner neck and a fatter belly that we'll add the wings and legs to in a sec. Now the body behind the neck has some kind of fluffy feathers. I'll draw a little triangular shape there for sort of the shoulders. The left and the right shoulder that's being shown behind the base of the neck. And then the triangular wings. So he's standing just on the ground with the wings folded, and they're about the same area as the bottom of the belly. Again, that idea of angles and alignments. The wings are very strong. Now the actual feathers are tucked under behind there. So I just drew some parallel lines. Then the other wing coming out of the shoulder here. It's a little bit tucked under more, so it's kind of thinner than the other wing. And you got that front leading edge that's stronger with the parallel feathers going behind and under. So some parallel lines for those tucked under feathers. Next, the tail. So he's kind of got his tail kind of propped up behind him. He's lifting his tail. So there's a bunch of feathers of the tail, and they're kind of, some of them are longer and some of them are sort of shorter. And then there's a few sticking out kind of cattywampus the other direction. Kind of shaded there. Kind of shade that, force it back. Now I'm going to strengthen the wing to make it coming towards us a bit more. And shade those tail feathers to make them go back. Strengthening the head and neck lines. Now we want to add his thighs and legs. So there's the feathered thigh, and then there's the blue leg, then the triangular foot. Noticing how wide it is. It's all splayed out really wide. They've got real strong feet. And it's kind of triangular, coming down sort of the middle of his belly. And there are some toes, just like we have, so there's 3 toes, and then the webbing I'm kind of shading. Sorry, wait, there we go. Okay, now the other thigh, the feathered thigh, the blue leg. And look at how the toes touch. They're making this square, rectangle, negative shape under the belly there. So the 2 toes are touching. The 2 feet are touching. And now we've got the 3 toes, which don't show up as well in the photograph. So I'm just darkening them for you a bit. And then the blue webbing between the 3 toes, a little bit shadowed. Lauren, I'm so happy that you're enjoying drawing. You say, honestly, this is the best stuff I've ever drew. That's amazing. I'm so excited. So happy for you. This guy's standing on sand, I'm going to pretend. Now we're just going to go over them a little bit more, be more confident in our lines, and add a little bit of shading. The feathers of the head and neck are a little bit shadowed because I think they're a little bit wet, maybe. Not as smooth as the belly there. Belly's a little bit shadowed. And the blue legs and thighs, adding a little shadowing there. Adding some feathers on the shoulders. And strengthening the line of the wing. And shadowing the feathers of the wing that are tucked under, so they're under the shade. It's very hot and bright in the Galapagos Islands. And so imagine those feathers are shaded under the main part of the wing. So you put some shadowing in there, and that will really help to visually put those wings back behind the bird's belly and chest, which is much closer to us. Strengthening the shadow of the belly a bit. The 3 toes. Adding a little bit of sand. Okay, I'll give you a chance to catch up while I tell you a little bit more about this guy. This is one of my favorite creatures. I have been lucky to see all of these species in real life, but I think of all the ones you're drawing today, this is my favorite one. And most people know of the blue-footed booby because of their comical courtship displays, showing off their brightly colored feet to potential mates. And boobies were kind of named because people might think they're sort of stupid, because a lot of the animals in the Galapagos Islands had never seen humans before. So when the first humans came to these islands, they didn't know to be afraid of them. So it was really easy to catch them. So the first sailors and pirates called them boobies, like they were stupid. Anyway, they belong to a family called the Sulidae, and that includes several species of boobies and also another kind of marine bird called gannets. And so the boobies include the blue-footed booby. There's also a species called the red-footed, as well as the Nazca booby. And all 3 of those I've seen in the Galapagos Islands. And it's interesting because the blue-footed booby, they nest on the ground. So he's standing on the ground, and the red-footed booby is nesting at the same time. And they're up in these little scraggly desert trees, and they actually build a little flimsy nest out of sticks. Whereas the blue-footed booby after their courtship display, and they find a mate and they lay eggs and they care for their babies. They're just on the ground the whole time. And it was amazing to watch them holding on to their eggs and then protecting their little babies. So anyway, that's the only time in their life that they're on land. And they only live on these islands. They only come to the islands and land once a year to court and mate and then raise their babies. The rest of the time, this family of birds, the Sulidae, the gannets, and the boobies are out in the open ocean, sort of like albatrosses. So they have really big, strong wings, and they're constantly just soaring over the open oceans. And so they are only eating fish, and they're really kind of famous for going up, high up into the air, and then diving down at something like, I don't know, where is it? I had some data here, something like 50 miles an hour or something. And they dive into the water, and they can dive really deep into the water, like up to 100 feet. And they're catching, they're following these big schools of fishes and catching them. Okay. And so, they're going to pull their wings back and dive like a torpedo into the water. And so they're, following these shoals of energy-rich fish throughout the open ocean. And so they are competing with us because our fishing vessels are catching entire shoals, millions of fish. And so, these guys are having a hard time getting enough to eat. And many of them might not get enough to eat to be healthy enough to raise babies. So anyway, what else was I going to say about these? The blue-footed booby is mainly in the northern tropical waters of the eastern Pacific, from northern Peru out to the Galapagos, and then north up to Baja California. And of course, like they said, they're really famous for their blue feet and their courtship display, where they're raising one foot over the other, kind of a little dance. Yeah, Monica says they take care of their eggs like the penguins. Yes. And so this was just one of my favorite things about visiting the Galapagos Islands, is watching them. And they're not afraid of you. So they let you walk by them on the trail. You have to be very quiet and respectful, and you're always with a guide or naturalist. But you can walk by and you can really observe them sitting, and they are protecting their eggs. And then once the usually 2 eggs hatch, they will raise those babies. Often only one survives, but they're going to raise those babies, and the parents will help feed them. So the parents are monogamous. The male and the female will both help to care for the eggs and the nestlings, and they'll take turns going out into the open ocean and fishing and bringing back fish and regurgitating them to their little nestlings. So it's amazing. Okay, how are we doing? Ready to move on? We have to move on. We're kind of running out of time. So again, I do a whole workshop that includes the booby in a Galapagos sketching on my Crowdcast page. So if you want to go back to that, there is a purchase price for that, but I think it's only $10. Yeah, Lauren says you might want to just watch the replay. We've done a lot. Yes. Okay, bye, Ria. You got to go. I know it's getting late over there in the Netherlands. Okay, let's move on. This is our last. Is this our last one? This is our last one, the shark, the black tip reef shark. So looking at his shapes, just that streamlined shape. So kind of like the orca, but he's not a mammal. This is a fish, but this is a cartilaginous fish, not a bony fish like Nemo. So we're just looking at all these parts first, all of those fins and the dorsal and pectoral and pelvic and anal fins and that streamlined shape. So now we're going to do the streamlined shape of his head and the back, going down into the triangle of the tail. Again, just staying really light and loose so you can modify this and get it a little bit more realistic. Like I'm making his snout a little bit longer here. So once I get a little light outline, I'll go a little bit slower and more carefully, always looking back and forth at my reference photo. The triangle of the tail, and notice there's this little squiggly notch. So there is actually a real notch there, which lots of sharks have. And going down to the bottom part of the fin, the caudal fin or tail. And then the belly getting a little bit fatter, I noticed. It's a little bit fatter because that's where all the digestive and reproductive organs are. So that's the fattest part. So this is the last one, but I want you to stick around because I really would love to have you share. And it's really fun to see each other's faces on the screen and see your sketches. So don't leave if you don't have to, because if you come back to the replay, you don't get to share. Okay, so now we're kind of finishing up that outline. I'm going to be a little more careful of the shape of my tail and that notch. The top part of the tail is often larger and taller than the bottom part. Like on a thresher shark, it's really long. But most sharks do have a longer part to the top of the tail than the bottom. Now, going to go back to the face. Going to give him an eye. And the pupil is a little bit cat-like. It's kind of up and down, a vertical pupil. Makes him look kind of menacing and scary, but again, most sharks are not dangerous. They're not scary. They're just trying to live their life. Give him a little bit of a nostril, give him a mouth. Now, since we're looking at him a little bit from below, like he's swimming above us, you see a little bit of the whole mouth there, and it's a tiny bit open. So you can see a little bit more of the left side of the mouth than the right side. It makes a little triangle there. Then the back of the snout. Then the gills. So they have 5 lines, 5 parallel lines that are the gills or gill slits. Again, we'll talk about these parts more when I give you a chance to catch up. So now I'm going to put that dorsal fin, noticing how far back it is from the end of the snout. And there's an angle to the back of it. A little bit more than we saw in the orca. Then the second dorsal fin is a little bit smaller. So we're going to place that, noticing how far it is from the tail. It's just a little bit of a triangle there. And then that other, that's called the anal fin. It's behind the anus where they go to the bathroom and also where they give birth. Then we've got the belly here, and we're doing the pelvic fins. So we see both of those. There are a pair of those. So one is kind of a triangle coming down. Notice where that starts compared to the dorsal fin. Now it's kind of hard to see here, but if you look here, there's a pair of fins. One is triangular facing down. That's the right one. And then the shark's left fin is kind of the side view. And then between that, there are these two structures that look like two little fingers. And those are called the claspers. And so that tells us that this is a male shark. And those help to clasp the female when they're mating. So those are kind of small. So I'm drawing those now. It's kind of two parallel little structures. And then I'm drawing the shark's left pelvic fin. There's lots of names to all these fins. Hopefully you'll get them figured out by the time we're done drawing today. And there's a little shadow because we're looking at him again from below a little bit. So that's a little bit of a shadow there. Maybe he just ate a bunch of fish and he's really full and fat. Now let's add the arms or pectoral fins. They start right below the gill slits. And there were 5 of those gill slits. Most sharks have 5. Some have 6 or 7. Anyway, a nice big triangle. And it's kind of wavy because it's kind of squished and actually moving. You see some wavy structure to it compared to the shark's right pectoral fin. So notice where that is in relationship to the one we just drew. That triangle comes down right below the gill slits. And there's a little bit of an angle there. Sometimes I'll measure with my pencil like that if I'm drawing from a photo to help me get a little bit more realistic. Now more of his belly and chest. Firming up some lines here. Now we're going to add the tips. This is a black tip reef shark. So they have these blacks with them. I've been lucky to swim with these guys in the Caribbean. They're also not a very aggressive shark. Some sharks that look scary, like hammerhead sharks, who I've also been lucky to swim with, are not aggressive. Whereas other sharks, like, of course, the great white shark and things, are more aggressive. So now I'm drawing a line. So the top of the shark is darker and the belly is lighter. And that's a concept called counter shading. Counter shading. So many fishes, as well as marine mammals, like dolphins and whales, will be darker colored on the top. Same thing with other bony fishes. They'll be darker on the top, and that helps them blend in with a darker sea to a predator who's looking at them from above. Whereas the belly is often unpigmented and it's lighter, and it's going to blend in with the sky above. So if this shark had a bigger shark looking at it from above, it would blend in a little bit better with the light of the sky. So that's called counter shading. Counter meaning sort of opposite shading. Because if you think of a lot of animals, if you were going to shade them, they'd be darker underneath because they would be under the shade from the sun, right? But many marine animals have this counter shading where they're darker above. And we're also darkening its tail and a little shadows on its belly. Giving a little bit more emphasis here for fun. We've got a little bit more time here. We're ending up just on time. I think we're going to end up right at noon my time. Some movement there, movement lines, firming up the edges. And there we go. So I'll give you a chance to catch up. So sharks. So we drew two types of fishes today. We draw the bony skeletoned ray-finned fish, which makes up a majority of the 30,000 species of fish in the ocean. And then we drew the cartilaginous fish, or the shark. So sharks don't have a strong bones in their bodies. Their bones are more cartilaginous. So if you think of the cartilage of your nose, how it's kind of movable. So their whole skeleton is softer and more cartilaginous. And so that's how they differ from other fishes. They're more closely related to rays, like manta rays and electric rays and skates. We already mentioned that they have their gill slits kind of naked here. They're not covered by an operculum like the bony fishes. So the oxygen is exchanged right here. They don't have any scales like other fishes, not the same kind. They're kind of a little bit smoother, and depending on the shark, they might have these kind of like sandpapery skin, but not the same kind of scales like other fishes. What else? They're also different from other fish in that they don't have a swim bladder. So most fish have a swim bladder that's kind of like if you're a scuba diver and you have the kind of like backpack thing you wear, that's called a buoyancy compensator. And you can add or subtract air from that to make you go up or down in the water column. Well, most of the bony fishes have a swim bladder that helps them do that. Sharks don't. So sharks would sink if they weren't swimming. So that's why they almost always have to keep swimming. We also talked about the difference between the males and the females. And that's a little different than the bony fishes. The males have these claspers that help with internal fertilization. So whereas the other bony fishes have external fertilization. Oh, what else? Oh, we talked about their tail being larger on the top than it is on the bottom. That's also different than most of the bony fishes that kind of have an equal part on the bottom or top, or it's just one big piece, like we saw in the anemone fish. Okay, what else? So yes. Yeah. So sharks are super important in the ecosystem. I know a lot of people are afraid of them, and a lot of people think that they'd be better off dead, but it's super important because sharks are top predators in the ecosystems. So they help to weed out the weaker fishes in the habitat to make sure that the strong genetics survive. Unfortunately, there are, let's see, where is it? I read recently that about 100 million sharks are killed each year. 100 million. And a lot of those are killed for just their fins, for things like shark fin soup. And the rest of them is thrown back in the water and wasted. So sharks have a hard time bouncing back from being overfished because they have very slow reproductive rates. It takes them a long time to mature, to be old enough to even have babies. And then when they do have babies, they don't have very many. And so it's tough on them. Okay, we are running out of time because I got to get out of here. We only have 2 hours. So I want to see who wants to share. Let's see, a long time ago, someone said they wanted to share. So what you would do is you would click in the chat box, you would type the word share, and then we can see your face. Oh, good. Lauren says share. So I clicked on her. what I do is I click on the person's name and they get an invitation to share. And then their face comes up. And if they have a video and audio feed on their computer, they're able to share. So you can, in the chat box, say the word share. I'll click on you and you can, and Carmen wants to share. And I'll click on Carmen's name too. We'll just see who comes up first. Sometimes it takes people's computers a little bit longer. So we'll just go in turn. Okay, we'll start with Lauren. Hello, Lauren.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome. So, this is the clownfish I made.
Wow, that's fabulous. That is very accurate proportions.
Thanks. And this is my sea turtle.
Oh, wow. And you got all of the scales and the scoots and the eye and the tail. That's fabulous.
Thanks. And then my orca.
Wow, that looks really active, like he's really jumping out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
And you got waves and everything.
And my blue-footed booby, which I don't think is as good as the other ones.
Oh, he's super cute. Well, he is kind of a funny shape, and maybe you're getting tired. Alicia says, that's brilliant, Lauren.
Thanks. And then my shark.
Wow, and you really showed that you're looking at him from the underside. Wow, that is great. How old are you?
8.
Wow, that is fabulous. You did a great job. Thanks so much for sharing. Now we have to move on to the next person because we're running out of time, but thanks for sharing. Hello, Carmen. Hi, how are you?
Good.
Fabulous. Did you have fun today?
Yeah, this is my blue-footed booby.
Wow. Did you learn a lot?
Yeah.
How old are you, Carmen?
This is Adagio, and he's 5.
Oh, sorry. You must be Carmen, the mom. And this is Adagio. That's right. Sorry. Adagio is 5. Well, welcome. Thanks for joining us today, Adagio.
Look at my turtle. He's got this leg in he put this leg in his front. Just swimming with 4 legs.
Adagio, thank you. Thank you. Okay, wonderful. Let's see. I have to invite Milana up now because we only have a couple more minutes. So thanks for joining us today. Adagio was being so brave about sharing. I'm sorry I had to cut you off, Carmen and Adagio. We've got to get a couple more people. We're going to run out of time. I think they kicked me off at 2-hour mark. Hello, Milana. How are you today?
Good.
Oh, you did a beautiful scene of everybody swimming together on the same page.
Everybody. It's
almost everybody.
The blue-footed booby and orca require different environments. Right here is the sea turtle. I tried turning it into a hawksbill.
Oh, right.
The clownfish, I made it an enemy. There's also some big sea rocks here, but you're not able to see them because I was using a light pencil.
And your friend? Was your friend drawing too?
This is my little sister.
Hi, little sister.
Vienna is just drawing whatever. Vienna was just drawing whatever she wanted. So this is just one of the drawings that she has. Some sort of flowers.
Thanks. Okay, well, I have to go in a minute, so they're going to cut me off here.
Also, this guy.
Oh, cute. Really blue head and feet. That is really cute. Thanks for sharing, Milana. We'll see you next time.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Sorry to cut you off. My service cuts me off at 2 hours. So look in the chat box. I invited y'all to my Nature Sketching Challenge Facebook page. So if you see that, here it is. And if you join that, you can post your pictures over there and you can ask questions, get feedback, and whatever you want. Is a really friendly group of folks. Okay, so all you do is click over there and ask to be invited into the group. We have 1,000 members now, and that's all of my students in my programs, and everybody is really supportive and really nice. We've got people of all ages, all abilities from all over the world. So anyway, I got to get going. I really hope you enjoyed learning about all these sea creatures today. Don't forget to go on over to my website, subscribe to my email list, check out my courses. Remember, check out that link that I sent you, and I'll send you a follow-up email since I'm going to be cut off here with some more information and links. So thank you so much for joining me today, Alicia and Monica and Barbara and everyone else. Okay, great. We'll see you next time, and happy World Oceans Day. Take care. Love ya. Bye.